This is Gemara Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Yud, and as we march towards the finale of this incredible Masechta during our Pesach preparations, we'd like to dedicate this year as lezchut refuah shleima for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva, as well as recognizing the upcoming yahrzeit of Miriam Bas Eliezer HaKohen. The learning for this week should be an incredible zchus Aliyas Neshama and Amir Tashem, all the zchusim, all the koyach HaTorah should be as lezchut refuah shleima, zchus Aliyas Neshama, be a militz yosher for the entire shiur. Let's pick it up. We're 2 lines from the top as we're in the middle of discussing we ended with the power of a wife, how Ein ben Peles, his wife, saved her from unfortunate end of Kairach. And then now we're going to go into the opposite. Unfortunately, Kairach's wife and how she did the opposite. 2 lines on the top, Kuf Yud Amud Aleph. Esvei de Kairach Amru Itse, the wife of Kairach Amrulei. So we saw what Ein ben Peles' wife said. What did Kairach's wife say? Chazi my coven Moshe. You see what Moshe is doing? Iu have malka. He is the king. Lachu shave kahana rabba. He has appointed his brother, the Kohen Gadol. Lemnei achu shavunu saganei the kahana. He made his brother sons, the Stam Kohanim. Iaisi Truma. If Truma comes, Amar Taver leKohen. He says, give it to the Kohen. Iaisi Meiser. Teshaklinu Aton. The Leviim take. Amar Moshe is going to say, Avichan me'asar leKohen. Don't take it yourself. Chalasar leKohen. The Kohen gets a 10th. V'oid. And furthermore, the guy is Zalei. Lemazachyu. Then Moshe shaved off your hair and made a joke out of you as if you were a piece of garbage, a piece of kufti, a piece of dung. He cast his eye upon your hair. So we see the opposite. We see, and this of course is referring to when the Leviim received their status, they had to shave off the hair, etc. The hanafa of chulu. So we see how Ein's wife saved him, and Kairach's wife unfortunately eggs him on. Amar lo, Kairach says to his wife, "Oh, you nami kavid." What do you mean? Moshe Rabbeinu is also a Levi. So how are you saying he made a joke out of us? Moshe also shaved the hair off his head. Amra le, she responded, "Give him the kula rabusa today." Since the whole thing is about himself, Amar iu nami. Thomas Nafshi and Belishtim. It's like Moshe saying, let me die with the Belishtim. Meaning that she's explaining that, of course, Moshe did it to be part of the ruse. But obviously, he's just trying to make a joke out of you. Moshe said, make 1 thread of techeles. If it's true that techeles is the mitzvah, so whole garment should be made of techeles and bring everyone dressed in such a mannerism to the base medrash to Moshe Rabbeinu. And hainu dersev, and this is the meaning on this contrast of the wife of Ein ben Peles, the contrast of the wife of Kairach. Chochmois nashim bansa beisa, the wise builds her house. Zuishta shalain ben Peles, ve'iveles biyada taharsena, and the foolish destroys. Zuishta shel Kairach. Going into Kairach, veikum l'nei Moshe v'nashim b'nei Yisrael got up chamish masayim yuchadim, 250 shebei, the distinguished people of the congregation, kriyei moyed. Those were appointed. These were those, as we learned at the beginning of this Masechta, that the incredible Chachma of the Iber Shana L'Kvuach Hadashim. And Sheishem, what does that mean? Sheishem B'chol Ha'olam. People knew about them throughout the whole world. Moshe heard, and he fell on his face. Mashmu Hashama Otem Moshe here. Amar Rav Yishmael bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yohanan. Shechashadu me'aishes ish. He heard that people were suspecting him of being with a married woman. Shenamar ve'kanu l'Moshe b'machaneh. They were jealous of Moshe. Amar Rav Yishmael bar Nachmani bar Yitzchak. Melami, what does this teach? Kolech ve'echad kinei ishtoi mi Moshe. Everyone warned his wife against including with Moshe Rabbeinu shenemar Moshe yikach es oyel v'nota loy michutz lamachaneh. So Moshe Rabbeinu can't imagine how the Klal Yisrael, how they're suspecting him, how they're warning their wives not to be with him. Continues the Gemara. Moshe Rabbeinu tries one last time. We see we do not want to persist in machlekes. You don't want to be like Kairach and his congregation. Person should get tzaraz like continuing the conversation on others that challenge, moving from Moshe Rabbeinu, those who challenge the Malchus Beis David is right to be bitten by a snake. Amar Rav Chisda teaches Rav Chisda kol hachelek al Rabbi. If you argue on your Rebbe, kechelek al Shechina, it's like arguing with the Shechina. Shenemar says the Torah about Seisam al Hashem. When they fought with Hashem, they were fighting with Moshe and Aaron. Doesn't have Iram, Kairach. It's like fighting with Hashem. Amar Rav Chamar Achani Nikolaisim Riva Rabbi. You fight with your Rabbi Koisim Shechina. Shenamri me Meriva. Asher Rabu b'nei Yisrael. The waters of Riva of strife. They fought with Hashem and Rechlina bar Baba on the third by line. As Hashem Rechlina bar Baba called Am Yisraim al Rabbi. Anyone who is complaining about his Rabbi is what? Kilomitraim al Shechina. It's as if he's complaining about the Shechina. Shenemar loyalenu tluna seichem kimal Hashem. Amar Rav Avua teaches Rav Avua kol ma'ayir achar Rabbi. You think negative thoughts about one's Rabbi. Kil ma'ayir achar Shechina rachman l'slan shenemar v'dabaram b'lekim ube Moshe. Continues the Gemara 5 lines into the wide lines. Now we're going to go into further into Kairach, further what caused the impetus of this horrible rebellion. Oisher Shamar Labailav the Riyasu says Shlema Amelech. Riches by the owner cause misfortune. Explains the Gemara, what does this mean? Amar Reish Lakish. So teaches Reish Lakish, Zeh Oisher Oishal Kairach. What does it mean that the riches cause the owner misfortune? This is the wealth of Reish Lakish. V'eskol hayakum. Asher beragleim, all the wealth at their feet. Amar Rav Elazar, Zeh mimoinai shal adam shemamida al raglav. It's the money of people which stands him on his feet. Yakum, from the word kum, to get up and to rise. Explains the Gemara further from Rav Levi, Masui shaloi shemeyos paradise levanos hayu maftichai shal beiskanot shal kairach. The keys, listen to this one. The keys to the treasure house is how much wealth he had. The keys themselves were 300 white mules worth. Ukulu aklidi vikilpe dekalidi. They were, all of those keys and locks were made out of leather. We see the incredible wealth that he had, even though leather is lighter, but they were so heavy, just the sheer amount of keys to the incredible wealth that Kairach had. Continues the Gemara, how did Kairach get so wealthy? Hit min Yosef Mitzrayim. Yosef concealed 3 treasures. Achas niskal solei Kairach. One was revealed to Kairach. V'achniskalska lantininis ben Asveiros. One was Taninis v'achas genuzul l'sadikim l'salavi. V'amar Rav Yechon Kairach laba min habeluim v'lemin asrufim. Kairach was not one. Kairach was neither among those that were swallowed, nor among those that were burnt. Lemin habeluim dechsev. V'es kol adam asher le'Kairach. So all the people that were with Kairach. V'loi Kairach, but not Kairach himself. V'loi min asrafim, not those that were burnt. Techsev says the pasuk, B'achalei ishes 250 men, v'loi Kairach, but not Kairach himself. B'masnita Tana teaches the Gemara. We learned in a Mishnah. Masnita Tana, Kairach min asrufin u'min abluim. The opposite, he was both. Min abluim dechsev v'tivla osam v'es Kairach min asrufin dechsev V'eish yatsa me'es Hashem, v'tachas 50 masayim v'esh, v'kayrach ba'adayu. So we have a machlokes whether what kayrach's actual punishment was. Amar Rav Amaydir said, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Shemesh yareach, Amad zvula elar chitzecha yalechon. The sun and the moon stood still. They went for light because of your arrows. Melamed, this teaches us. She'alu shemesh yareach lezvol. This teaches us that the shemesh and the yareach went into Shemayim, known as Zvol. Am lefan Rebbeinu shalaylam. Emato isadin leben Amram. Neitze. If you go and do din to Ben Amram, to Moshe Rabbeinu, Neitze, we're going to go back out and we'll give light to the earth. Ve'im lav, says the sun and the moon to Kadosh Baruch Hu, we're done. Loi, Neitze, we're not going to go out. Ad shezarak bahem chitzim. They stayed in their position till Hashem shot arrows at them and forced the sun and the moon to do what they need to do. Amr lahem, saying to them, Bechvaidi loy mechitem. B'chavoid basar adam mechitem. You don't protest my honor. There are people all day that bow down to the sun, to the moon, and you don't argue to my honor, says the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But the honor of Moshe Rabbeinu you do. Says the Gemara, ve'inna lo'nafki ad demacho lehu. Says the Gemara, the sun and the moon do not go out until every day they're struck by Hashem. Why? Because they indeed argue on the avodah zarah that happens, and they protest against the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Continues the Gemara, Darash Rava Maidach Sev, what is the meaning of the pasuk? V'imbriya Yevara Hashem upatza Adama espia. Amar Mashdei Kadosh Baruch Hu Imbriya Gehenim Mutav. Says Moshe, if Gehenim is a creation, Mutav, it's good. V'imlav Yevara Hashem, you should create it for this purpose. Lemai Ilim Lemavri Mamish. If you're going to tell me to create actual Gehenim, Vayim Nechadosh Zach Shemaim. Ela Lekroive Pescha. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, bring the opening close. Continues the psukim. The children of Kairach did not die. Tell them Misham Rabbeinu Omer Amru. Malkum Nisbaz Lem Gehenim. There was a place waiting for them, set up high for them in Gehenim. Yasholav Va'amru Shira. They sit there in Gehenim and they praise Hashem for eternity. Amar Rabba Babar Chana. 3 lines on the bottom. Zimna Chado one time. Because I was going on the road, there was a certain Arab merchant that said, come, I'll show you the place that Kairach was swallowed up. Azal Chazay, Trey busy. He came and he showed him, Azal Chazay, Trey busy. The Arab went and spent 2 cracks in the ground. Smoke was coming out of them. Shakal Gavava the Amra, he took a ball of wool, Amshemaya soaked it up with water, put it on the top of his spear, Achvli Asam, and passed it over the crack in the ground, Ichrich, and it was singed. Amar Lei, the Arab said, Atzis my Shamas, put your ear and listen. Vishamas Davik Amri. What did they hear? Hachi Moshe Viseirasa Yames Vein Badayim. That for eternity, what are all the 250 people with Kairach screaming and singing? Moshe Yames, Seirasa Yames. Vein Badayim, and they themselves are liars. As we turn over to Kaf Yudam and Beis, continues the Gemara, Amar Lei, called Tlasin Yamin, the Arab said to Rabbi Archana, each and every of the 30 days, Ma'ajilu Gehenim Kebasar, B'tayich Kalachas, each and every 30 days, Gehenim comes to this point, like Miran Apat, V'amri Yachi, and you can hear Moshe V'serasa Yames, Ve'ein Badayim. Says the Gemara, now that we're finished with Kairach, we go to the next group in the Mishnah, Darham Abel, Ein Loichelek Loilam Haba. Tanarabanan, says the Gemara, 5 lines from the top of Yudam Beis, Darham Midbar, Darham Midbar. Darham Abel we already learned about. Darham Midbar Echalil Haba, Shenem, Arab Midbar Zeh Yismu, V'Sham Yamusu, Yismu they'll perish, V'Elam Hazeh, V'Sham Yamusu, V'Elam Hazeh, V'Elam Haba, V'Amar Shenishbati Ba'Bei Am, Yavohin al Menucha Asi, Divrei Rabbi Akiva, teaches Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Lazar Aimer teaches Rabbi Lazar, Laila Maba. What does it mean by Daim? Laila Maba. Shenem, Ratzli Chasidi Karsi Brisi, Alai Zavach. Almani Mekayim, Shenishbati Bapi. So what do we Mekayim? The Pasuk says, Shenishbati, that I swore, Bapi. Says the Gemara. Ba'api nishvati v'chazarni bi, in my wrath I swore, but I retracted that shvuah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Aimer Loi Nemar Pasuk Zeh Keneged Deiros Habayim. This pasuk is referring to future generations after the Dar HaMidbar. As the pasuk says, Aslu Chasidei Elu Sadikish of Chodar V'Dar Karsei Brisi Elu Chanani Mishav V'Azariah Shematzu Atzman L'Tayikivshan Ha'esh Alei Zevach. What does that refer to? Whether Rabbi Kiva Chaveir Shematzu Atzman L'Shchita Al Divrei Torah Shemenas Yomer Ba'in Hein L'Olam Haba, that all of those are going to go straight to Olam Haba. And Sheminasa holds that in reality, those in the Dar HaMidbar will eventually get to Olam Haba. Shneimar P'li Hashem Yeshuvenu Ba'id Tziyam Barina. Amar Rachana Rabbi Yechanan Shavku Rabbi Akiva L'Chasidoseh. Rabbi Akiva left his general way of learning, his Chasidus Shenamar, his good-naturedness. Halach V'Krasa Bazni Yerushalayim Neimer Zachartach L'Chasid N'Rayich. Avaz Kuli Yisrael Lech Le'achra Midbar Beretz L'Zerua Ma'achirim. I don't understand. We always tell over how incredible we were, that we followed Hashem into the wilderness. And we're saying that they themselves are not going to go to Olam Haba, can't be. So says the Gemara, siding with the second Shita, then indeed eventually even the Dar HaMidbar will come to Olam Haba. And we're in the middle of Kuf Yudam and Beis. We're at the Mishnah, and we continue discussing the history of Klal Yisrael, some of the Galuyos. And now we move on to the Aseres HaShvatim. Einon Asidin Lachzar. Says the Mishnah, Aseres Shvatim are never going to come back from Galush and Emar. Vayashlichem al Eretz Acheres Kiyem Hazeh Ma'ayoim. Haylech V'inach Chayz, just like today, it goes and it doesn't come back. Avim Holchem V'inach Chayz in Divrei Rabbi Akiva Lazim Kiyem Hazeh Ma'ayoim Ma'afal Umeir. No, Aseres Shvatim Shafilu Lehen Kach Asida L'Hayir Lehem. Just like the day goes back and forth, darkens and will eventually become light, so to the Aseres HaShvatim, it's dark, but indeed one day there will be light. Tanu Rabbanan explains the Gemara, Aseres HaShvatim, says the Pasuk, Hashem uprooted them, that's in this world. Because of Gadol. That's why the Mazeh V'Shlichim L'Erzacher Etzel L'Mavadi Rabbi Akiva Shemen Yehuda Ish Kfar Akko Yomer Mishum Rav Shemen Imazim Ke Mazeh. If their actions are like today in Chayzim, but Vimlav, if they do tshuva, then indeed Chayzim they will come back. Rabbi Yomer Ba'im Eim L'Olam Haba, they will come to Olam Haba. Shenemar B'Yom Hayehu Yitagar B'Shofar Gadol, they blow the great shofar. Amar Rabbi Rachana, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Shavka Rabbi Akiva, L'Chasidoseh. Similar as we had right before the Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva left a general way of teaching, of explaining in the positive nature. Shenamar Holich L'Rasas Advar Ma'ilas Feina, V'Amarta Shuvu Meshuva Yisrael Nom Hashem V'Lo'abel B'nei Bachem Ki Chasid Ani Nom Hashem Lo'Yatur Lo'Olam. I will never have a grudge forever. Of course, they will eventually get to Olam Haba. Says the Gemara, what is this? My Chasidoseh. We two times quoted Rabbi Akiva and his Chasidus and his generosity and the fact that Rabbi Akiva generally is of the more positive opinion. What is this? Titania, says the Gemara. 3 lines from the white lines. Kitane b'nei Risha Yisrael. Kitanim of Rishayim in Bayin L'Olam Haba. Shem Kinei Yoim Ba Bayer Kitanur. Vayakol Zeinu Chosei Risha Kosh V'lahet Oisam Hayoim Haba Amar Hashem Zavok T'Shalei Aziv Lehem Sheirish V'Anof. Well, there'll be nothing left of them. Sheish V'Olam Hazeh V'Anof L'Olam Haba. Divrei Rabbi Gamliel. Says Rabbi Gamliel that the children of Rishayim will not come to Olam Haba. But Rabbi Akiva Aimer, no. Ba'im Heim L'Olam Haba. They will indeed come to Olam Haba. Shenemar Shomer P'sayim Hashem Shekein Kairim B'Karkiyam Lianuka Pasya. They call a young child Pasya, and therefore the children will indeed yes come to Olam Haba. V'Aimer Kaidu Ilana V'Chablui B'Ram Ikar Sharshoyi Ba'ara Shavuku. Explains the Gemara, chop down the tree, destroy it, believe the roots. Valamani Makayim, says the Gemara, okay, if the roots of the kids do go, so what do we do? The Apostle says, Lo Yazav Lem Sheirish V'Anaf, Sheiniach Lem Lo Mitzvah Lo Shirei Mitzvah, there'll be no mitzvahs left. Over Acha, what does it mean? Sheirish and Hashem V'Anaf Zeragof, Aval Ketane B'nei Reshia V'Chavim, Says the Gemara. But those who worship Avodah Zarah, diver hakol ein bayim la'ilam haba. Everyone agrees they're not going to come to Olam Haba. From Leo Nafkle Vatabi kol zecher kol zecher lamoi. Itmar says the Gemara, and this will conclude for today. Katan meima saibal Olam Haba. When does a child come to Olam Haba? Rav Chiver Shimrar bar Rebbe Charoimer Mishash Noilad. From the moment a child is born, even if it's nifter afterwards, gets to Olam Haba. Chadam Misham Shesiper, from the time that it could talk, but before it could talk, it won't go to Olam Haba. Mishash Noilad Shenemar Yavav Yigidu Sidkas Elam Noilad Ki Asa Mandar Mishash Shesiper Dachsev Zer Yavduni Super Lashem Le Dar. Itmar Ravina Amar Mishash Nizra. For the moment it's conceived. We see even earlier, even a miscarriage. Once there's the conception, from the bris milah, afu no. Tani misham rameir misha sheyemer amen. From the first time a child says amen, it's ticket to Olam Haba. Shenever pischu sham v'yavo goy tzadik shemer amune. Al tiki shemer amune melashe oimer amen. That amen is the child's ticket to Olam Haba. We see the incredible power of amen. What is amen? With this we conclude my amen of Rechanina kel melech ne'eman refers to k'shainim al kol bracha. Bracha says Rashi amen. Eich masha kabbalah zir shamayim. Where do we see from answering Amen that one is accepting upon himself Yiras Shamayim? Explains the Gemara that the letters Aleph Mem Nun Amen stand for Kel Melech Ne'eman Shemamin Olav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's when the child will go to Olam Haba. Stop over here. I'll pick it up from here. B'siyata Dishmaya.